The observation deck of Station Meridian floated in the darkness between stars, a solitary sentinel watching the void. Captain Rex Torvain pressed his scaled hand against the viewport, his amber eyes reflecting the distant galaxies. 23 years he had monitored the celestial frequencies, and 23 years had passed in peaceful silence. Until now. The console behind him erupted with cascading alerts. His communications officer, a young Krithian named Sora Nethan, stumbled backward from her station as if the equipment itself had burned her. Her crystalline skin flickered with distress patterns. "Captain, what I am detecting cannot be real," she whispered. Rex crossed the deck in 3 strides. The holographic display showed something that made his blood run cold. A signal, not just any signal, but one that carried the unmistakable signature of Earth, the Forbidden World, the planet that had gone silent 300 years ago after the Great Silence descended. "Show me the source coordinates," Rex commanded. Sora's fingers trembled as she worked the controls. "Sir, it is coming from Sector 9, the Dead Quadrant. Nothing has ever transmitted from that region. Not in recorded history. Enhance the signal." "Let me hear it." The speakers crackled to life. What emerged was not the chaotic noise of natural cosmic phenomena. It was structured, purposeful. A voice speaking in perfect galactic standard, the universal language that connected all civilizations. "This is Commander Holt Brennan of the Terran Vanguard. We are returning. Prepare for contact." The message repeated 3 times, then fell silent. Rex felt his legs weaken. He gripped the edge of the console to steady himself. Terran. Human. The species that had vanished from all known space after their home system was quarantined by the Galactic Federation, the civilization that had been declared extinct. "Get me a direct channel to Federation Command," Rex ordered. "Priority Alpha. This changes everything." "But sir," Sora protested, "the Federation banned all mention of Earth. If we report this, they will question why we were even monitoring those frequencies." Rex turned to face her fully. His expression was grave. "Do you understand what this means? If humans are returning, and they remember what was done to them, what happened during the quarantine, then every world in the Federation is in danger. We are not just reporting a signal. We are reporting the return of ghosts." Across the station, alarms began sounding. The signal had been detected by multiple systems now. There was no containing it. Within minutes, every monitoring station in 3 sectors would know. Within hours, the entire galaxy would hear the impossible truth. Humans were coming back. The journey to Federation Command took 6 days at maximum hyperlight speed. Rex spent every moment of that journey analyzing the signal, breaking down its components, searching for any clue about what the humans had become during their 3 centuries of silence. What he found terrified him. The signal was not just a message. Embedded within it were data streams, technological signatures that should not exist, energy readings that exceeded anything in the Federation database, mathematical equations that solved problems the greatest minds had declared unsolvable. "They have evolved," Sora said one evening as they reviewed the data together in the analysis lab. "Not naturally. Something happened to them out there in the dark. Something changed them." Rex nodded slowly. "The quarantine was supposed to protect us from them. The Federation said humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable. They said isolation would calm their violent nature or let them destroy themselves. Instead, we may have created something far worse." The hologram between them displayed a recreation of the signal path. It had not come from Earth. It had come from deep space, from a region so remote that no exploration vessel had ever reached it. Whatever the humans had built out there, they had done it beyond all observation. When they finally docked at Federation Command, the massive space station orbiting the capital world of Praxis Prime, Rex found chaos waiting. The docking bay was crowded with ships from every corner of known space. Diplomatic vessels, military cruisers, science expeditions, all converging on this one point. The Federation Council had called an emergency session. Inside the Grand Chamber, Rex stood among hundreds of delegates representing thousands of worlds. The chamber was an architectural marvel, a sphere where gravity shifted to allow representatives to stand on any surface, all facing the center where the High Council presided. Council leader Vex Moran, an ancient Drelthi whose species had guided the Federation for millennia, spoke with a voice that resonated through every translator. 300 years ago, we made a difficult decision. Humanity had reached the stars with a speed that alarmed us. Their history was written in violence, wars that consumed entire continents, weapons that could erase all life. We feared what they might do if allowed to expand unchecked. Vex paused, his many eyes scanning the assembled delegates. We established the quarantine. We told ourselves it was for the greater good. That isolation would teach them peace or end their threat naturally. We convinced ourselves we were protecting the galaxy. The hologram in the center of the chamber activated, displaying the signal that Rex had detected. We were wrong. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Representatives gestured and spoke in agitated tones. Rex felt the weight of history pressing down on them all. This signal tells us that humanity survived, Vex continued. More than survived. They thrived, and now they are announcing their return. The question before us is simple. Do we welcome them, or do we prepare for war? A representative from the Corvin Collective, a militaristic species that controlled 12 systems, rose to speak. His voice was harsh. The humans were dangerous before. Whatever they have become in exile will be infinitely more so. We should mobilize the Federation fleet immediately. Meet them with overwhelming force. Show them that the galaxy will not tolerate their return. Others voiced agreement. The chamber filled with calls for military action, for defensive preparations, for preemptive strikes. Rex felt compelled to speak. He activated his delegation platform, and his voice cut through the noise. Council members, I urge caution. We do not know what humanity has become. If we attack first, we may provoke the very conflict we fear. Let us try communication before weapons. The Corvin representative turned toward him with contempt. And if they attack us while we waste time talking? If they have spent 3 centuries preparing for revenge? Your caution could doom us all, Captain. Before Rex could respond, every holographic display in the chamber flickered. Static washed across the screens. Then impossibly, a new image appeared. A human face. The man appeared to be in his 40s, with sharp features and eyes that held depths of experience no organic being should possess. He wore a uniform of dark material that seemed to absorb light. Behind him, through a viewport, stars streamed past at speeds that should have been impossible. This is Commander Holt Brennan, the human said. His voice was calm but carried an undercurrent of iron. I am addressing the Galactic Federation Council directly. Yes, we have breached your communication security. Consider it a demonstration. The chamber erupted in panic. Security protocols activated, but nothing could stop the transmission. The human had complete control of their systems. 300 years ago, you decided our fate without asking us. Holt continued. You sealed us away from the stars we had just begun to explore. You told yourselves it was necessary, that we were too dangerous to be allowed freedom. His expression hardened. You were right to fear us, but not for the reasons you thought. We were dangerous because we represented something you had forgotten. Progress, change, the refusal to accept limitations. While you stagnated in your ancient peace, we pushed forward. We evolved. The hologram shifted, showing images of massive structures in deep space. Cities built on scales that dwarfed anything the Federation had created. Ships that moved between stars like children running through fields. We built a new civilization beyond your borders, Holt said. We solved problems you declared impossible. We reached heights you never imagined. And we did it alone because you left us no choice. Vex Moran found his voice. What do you want from us, Commander? Why return now? Holt smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We are not asking permission to return. We are informing you. Humanity is reclaiming its place among the stars. The quarantine is over. Not because you have lifted it, but because we no longer recognize your authority to impose it. The chamber fell silent. Every representative understood the implication. Humanity was not seeking admission to the Federation. They were declaring independence from it. You will see our ship soon, Holt said. We will pass through your territory on our way to the worlds we claimed before the quarantine. We will establish colonies. We will build trade routes. We will exist in this galaxy whether you approve or not. He leaned forward slightly. But understand this. We remember what you did. We remember being cast out. If you attempt to repeat that mistake, if you raise weapons against us again, we will respond. And 300 years of isolation have taught us things about warfare that would horrify you. The transmission ended. Systems returned to normal. But the chamber remained in stunned silence. Rex looked around at the faces of delegates from across the galaxy. He saw fear, anger, confusion. The comfortable order they had known for centuries was crumbling. High above them all, Vex Moran spoke in a voice heavy with resignation. Assemble the defense fleets, begin diplomatic preparations, and may the stars have mercy on us all, because we have awakened something we should have left sleeping. The Federation Defense Fleet assembled at the Nexus Point, a strategic location where 3 major hyperspace lanes converged. 200 warships from 40 different worlds formed a massive wall of firepower, stretching across millions of kilometers. It was the largest military gathering in Federation history. Admiral Drace Volton commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Infinite Resolve. He was a Keltharian, a species known for their tactical brilliance and cold logic. His 6-fingered hands moved across the command console with practiced efficiency as he reviewed deployment patterns for the 100th time. Status report, he called to his bridge crew. Navigation Officer Pren Solwick, a thin Aetherian with translucent skin, consulted his instruments. All ships in position, Admiral. Defensive grid is active. Long-range sensors are scanning all approach vectors. If the humans come through here, we will detect them hours before arrival. Drace nodded but felt no comfort. 3 weeks had passed since Commander Brennan's transmission. 3 weeks of frantic preparation and desperate diplomacy. The Federation had tried everything to establish communication with the returning humans, but every message went unanswered. It was as if humanity had said everything they needed to say and now waited for the Federation's response. The silence was more terrifying than any threat. Sir, Tactical Officer Jen Raxus spoke up. Her reptilian features showed concern. I have been analyzing the data Captain Torvain gathered from the initial signal. The energy signatures suggest propulsion systems operating at efficiency levels we consider theoretically impossible. If their ships can match these readings, they could outmaneuver anything in our fleet. Drace turned his chair to face her. Could or will? Jen hesitated. Will, sir. The mathematics are clear. Our ships are powerful, but they are built on technologies thousands of years old. Refined, yes, but fundamentally unchanged. If the humans have truly achieved breakthrough innovations during their isolation, they may possess capabilities we cannot counter. A heavy silence fell across the bridge. Every officer understood the implication. This fleet, representing the combined might of the Federation, might be obsolete before the battle even began. Then we rely on numbers, Drace said firmly. One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot defeat 200. We hold formation, we demonstrate strength, and we hope they choose wisdom over warfare. But even as he spoke, Drace wondered if hope was enough. The waiting wore on them all. Days turned into weeks. The fleet remained at high alert, crews working in shifts, never fully resting. Supply ships came and went, keeping the massive armada fed and armed. Diplomats shuttled between vessels, trying to maintain unity among species that had ancient rivalries barely suppressed. On the flagship, Drace spent long nights studying human history. The Federation archives contained extensive records from before the quarantine. He read about human conflicts, their capacity for both tremendous violence and remarkable compassion. He studied their art, their literature, their philosophy. What struck him most was their restlessness. Humans never seemed content with what they had achieved, always pushing, always questioning, always reaching for something beyond their grasp. It was this quality that had frightened the Federation Council 3 centuries ago. Now Drace understood their fear in a new way. A species that refused to accept limits, given 300 years of isolation and necessity. What might they have become? His communicator chimed. It was Pren from the night shift on the bridge. Admiral, you need to come immediately. We have detected something. Drace arrived on the bridge within minutes. The main view screen showed a sensor readout that made no sense. A massive spatial distortion was forming at the edge of their detection range, growing rapidly in size and intensity. What am I looking at? Drace demanded. Jen was already at her station, her claws moving rapidly across controls. Sir, it appears to be a hyperspace emergence point, but it is enormous. The energy displacement suggests something far larger than any ship we have on record. How large? She looked up at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. Admiral, if these readings are accurate, what is coming through is not a ship. It is a fleet, and it is arriving all at once. Sound general alert. All ships to battle stations. Drace's voice remained steady despite the ice forming in his chest. "Prepare for contact." Across the fleet, alarms blared. Crews raced to their positions. Weapon systems powered up. Shield generators hummed to life. 200 warships transformed from a waiting force into a weapon ready to strike. The spatial distortion reached critical mass. Space itself seemed to tear open, revealing a tunnel of impossible colors and geometries. Then, emerging from that wound in reality, came the human fleet. Drace had expected warships. He had prepared for weapons and aggression. What he saw instead left him speechless. The human vessels were beautiful. There was no other word for them. They moved with grace that defied their massive size. Hulls gleaming with materials that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Their designs incorporated curves and angles in ways that felt organic, as if the ships had been grown rather than built. But beneath that beauty lay obvious power. Energy readings spiked across every sensor. The lead ship alone generated more power than his entire flagship. "Count them," Drace ordered quietly. 15 capital ships, Jen reported. 40 escort vessels, unknown number of smaller craft. "Admiral, their formation is perfect. Not a single vessel out of position. The coordination required for that level of precision is beyond anything we have achieved. Open a channel. All frequencies." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Drace took a breath. "This is Admiral Drace Volton of the Federation Defense Fleet. We are here to ensure peaceful passage through Federation space. We request immediate communication to establish protocols and prevent misunderstanding." For a long moment, nothing happened. The human fleet continued forward at steady speed, neither slowing nor accelerating. Drace felt sweat forming on his scaled skin. Then a response came, but not through their communication systems. Every view screen in the fleet, every display panel, every holographic projector activated simultaneously. Once again, Commander Holt Brennan appeared before them. "Admiral Volton," the human said. "We appreciate the welcome committee. 200 ships is impressive. Almost flattering." Drace kept his voice level. "We are here to prevent conflict, Commander. The Federation wishes to negotiate terms for your passage and settlement rights." Holt's expression remained neutral. "Negotiate implies we need your permission. We do not. However, we understand you need reassurance. So let me be clear about our intentions." The image shifted, showing a star map. Dozens of systems were highlighted in blue. These worlds were surveyed by human exploratory missions before the quarantine. They are uninhabited. We claim them now and will begin colonization immediately. We will not interfere with existing Federation worlds. We will not disrupt trade routes. We simply want what should have been ours 300 years ago. "That seems reasonable," Drace said carefully. "If you withdraw your fleet and allow diplomatic vessels to approach, we can formalize these arrangements through proper channels." Holt smiled slightly. "Admiral, you seem to believe you have leverage in this situation. Let me correct that misunderstanding." The human fleet suddenly accelerated. Not gradually, but instantaneously. One moment they were moving at standard approach speed. The next they had closed half the distance to the Federation fleet in the blink of an eye. "Impossible," Jen whispered. "No ship can accelerate that fast without turning the crew into paste." "Evasive maneuvers," Drace shouted. "All ships scatter formation." But before any Federation vessel could move, they found themselves frozen. Not physically, but their controls had stopped responding. Navigation systems locked. Weapons refused to fire. Even life support flickered momentarily before stabilizing. "What is happening?" Drace demanded, fighting with his own console. "Sir, every ship is reporting the same thing," Pren said, his voice shaking. "Our systems are not responding. It is as if something is controlling them remotely." Holt's voice came through every speaker. "We have no interest in destroying you, Admiral. But we will not be dictated to. Consider this a demonstration. Your ships are currently under our control. We could destroy you all without firing a shot, but we choose not to." The human fleet passed through the Federation formation like water flowing around stones. Not a single collision, not a single shot fired. They moved with absolute precision while 200 Federation warships hung helpless in space. Then, as suddenly as it began, it ended. Control returned to the Federation vessels. Systems came back online. The human fleet continued on its path toward the unclaimed systems, already distant and growing smaller. Drace stood frozen on his bridge, staring at the view screen. Around him, his crew slowly returned to their stations, moving like people waking from nightmares. "Sir," Jen said quietly, What do we report to the council? Drace thought about the question. How did you report that everything had changed? That the balance of power they had maintained for millennia had shifted in minutes? That humanity had returned not as petitioners but as masters of technologies that rendered the Federation's might irrelevant? Tell them the truth, he finally said. Tell them we cannot stop them. Tell them we must adapt or become obsolete. Tell them the galaxy belongs to those who push forward, and we have been standing still for too long. He looked at his crew, seeing his own fear reflected in their faces, and tell them that if we are wise, we will learn from the humans rather than fight them, because they have just shown us the future, and we are not part of it unless we change. 6 months after the human fleet's passage through the Nexus Point, Captain Rex Torvain found himself doing something he never imagined possible. He was standing on human soil. The colony of New Horizons sprawled across a temperate planet in one of the systems humanity had claimed. From orbit, it looked like any other settlement. But walking through its streets, Rex felt the fundamental difference. Everything here moved with purpose. Buildings grew upward and outward, construction happening at speeds that seemed impossible. Gardens bloomed with earth plants alongside native species, creating hybrid ecosystems in real time. The humans had not just built a colony. They had created a living, breathing civilization almost overnight. Your companion seems overwhelmed, a voice said beside him. Rex turned to see a human woman approaching. She appeared young, perhaps 30 standard years, with dark skin and eyes that sparkled with curiosity. She wore simple clothes that somehow seemed more sophisticated than the finest Federation formal wear. I am Dr. Naomi Wells, she said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. I oversee cultural exchange programs. You must be Captain Torvain. Commander Brennan mentioned you might visit. Rex carefully clasped her hand, mimicking the gesture. I confess I am surprised your people allowed me here. After everything that happened, I expected hostility. Naomi smiled. Hostility requires caring about the past more than the future. We learned that lesson the hard way. Come, let me show you what 300 years of necessity taught us. She led him through the colony, explaining as they walked. When the Federation quarantined us, we faced a choice: rage at the injustice or channel that energy into survival and growth. We chose growth, but not just physical growth, she continued. We evolved our thinking. Every human child now grows up learning systems theory, interconnected problem solving, the understanding that progress means lifting everyone, not just ourselves. They entered a building that Rex initially mistook for a temple. Inside, instead of religious iconography, he found laboratories and classrooms blended seamlessly. Children and adults worked side by side on projects ranging from quantum mechanics to agricultural optimization. Education never stops here, Naomi explained. A 5-year-old might discuss theoretical physics with a 90-year-old. We removed the artificial barriers between learning and living. Knowledge is not hoarded by experts. It flows freely. Rex watched a group of human children working with holographic models of stellar formations. They manipulated variables with casual confidence, testing theories with the support of artificial intelligence that seemed to anticipate their thoughts. Your technology, Rex said carefully. How did you achieve such advances? Naomi's expression grew serious. We stopped asking, is this possible, and started asking, what makes it possible? Every limitation the Federation accepted as natural law, we treat it as a puzzle to solve. When you have nothing, when you are truly alone in the darkness, you either find new answers or you die. She gestured to a viewport showing the colony's power generation facility. Streams of pure energy flowed through crystalline structures, feeding the entire settlement without any visible fuel source. We learned to extract energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations, Naomi said. We developed materials that repair themselves at molecular levels. We created AI that enhances human thinking rather than replacing it. Not because we are superior, but because we had to. They walked to a garden where humans and newly arrived Federation visitors mingled together. Rex noticed something remarkable. There was no segregation, no tension. Species that had never met before shared meals and conversation as if they had known each other for years. How do you create such harmony? Rex asked. The Federation has tried for millennia to unite different species, yet conflicts remain. Naomi sat on a bench, inviting Rex to join her. Because you try to unite through laws and treaties. We unite through shared purpose. Every person in this colony, human or otherwise, knows they are part of something larger. We are building a future where differences are strengths, not problems to overcome. She pointed to a Keltharian working alongside a human on some mechanical project. They laughed together, hands and claws working in perfect synchronization. That is Thorn, Naomi said. He arrived 3 months ago, expecting to spy on us for the Federation. Within a week, he asked to stay. Not because we convinced him with words, but because he saw possibilities he never knew existed. Rex felt something shift inside him. For decades, he had served the Federation believing it represented the pinnacle of civilization. Now, sitting in this garden on a world humanity had built in months, he understood how wrong that assumption had been. "Why did Commander Brennan invite me here?" he asked quietly. "Why show me all this?" Naomi met his eyes directly. "Because you were the first to urge caution instead of violence. Because your instinct was to communicate before attacking. Because humanity needs allies who understand that progress requires courage." She stood, offering her hand again to help him up. "The Federation thinks we returned seeking revenge or conquest. The truth is simpler and more profound. We return to show you what becomes possible when you stop accepting limitations, when you choose growth over comfort, when you believe that tomorrow can be better than today if you are willing to work for it." They walked to the colony's central plaza, where a massive holographic display showed human settlements spreading across multiple systems. Ships moved between worlds, not as military vessels, but as carriers of people, ideas, and hope. "This is what we offer," Naomi said. "Not domination, but inspiration. Not replacement, but partnership. The Federation can continue as it has for millennia, slowly stagnating, or it can choose to evolve alongside us." Rex watched the display, seeing the future taking shape before his eyes. He thought about his decades of service, his comfortable certainty about how the galaxy worked. All of it felt suddenly small and limited. "What do you need from us?"
he asked. Naomi smiled warmly.
"Only willingness. Willingness to question. Willingness to grow. Willingness to believe that the best days of galactic civilization are ahead, not behind." She touched a control, and the hologram shifted to show a vision of the future. Human and Federation worlds connected by networks of trade, knowledge, and friendship. Technologies blending and evolving. Species learning from each other rather than competing. "In 300 years of isolation, we learned that survival requires adaptation," Naomi said softly. "But thriving requires connection. We do not want to stand apart from the galaxy. We want to stand within it, helping lift every civilization to heights none could reach alone." Rex felt tears forming in his eyes, a response his species reserved for moments of profound emotional truth. For the first time in his life, he saw clearly what the Federation had become. Not protectors of galactic peace, but guardians of comfortable stagnation. Not leaders, but obstacles to the very progress they should have championed. "I want to help," he said. "Whatever you need, whatever I can do. I want to be part of this." Naomi placed her hand on his shoulder, a gesture of acceptance and friendship. "Then you already are, Captain. Everyone who chooses growth over fear becomes part of humanity's journey. Species does not matter. What matters is the willingness to believe we can be better tomorrow than we are today." As the sun set over New Horizon, painting the sky in colors that reminded Rex of Earth's famous sunsets, he understood the truth that would reshape the galaxy. Humanity had not returned as conquerors or even as equals. They had returned as teachers, showing every species that the only real limits were the ones they imposed on themselves. The question now was whether the galaxy would have the courage to learn.